With the onset of climate change and the consequent increase in the intensity and frequency of heat waves, summers are now characterized by forest fires. One of the means to combat forest fires is the use of satellite technology for both detection and monitoring. To find out how this is done, I spoke to Hélène de Boissezon of the French space agency CNES.
Forest fires have been analyzed and fighted using satellite images for a number of years, for more than 20 years, because satellite images can provide a very good image of forest fire risk. For example, showing the level of vegetation stress, the level of deforestation or not. And so a number of satellite images systems like the International Charter Space and Major Disaster or Copernicus Emergency, for example, system provide assessment of fire risk and very useful when a fire is present on a territory. They allow to monitor, to assess the progression of the fires thanks to daily images of the fire progression. And so those elements are very useful for the firemen and for the people on the terrain.
I also asked her about the kind of sensors used on these satellites and the frequency with which the affected areas are observed.
So we have the whole range of satellite images are used and are very useful for forest fire prevention and forest fire observation. For example, you can have, of course, the most frequently used are optical images, but on optical images you have some wavelengths in the middle infrared, in the thermal infrared that can be used so to characterize very precisely the status of the vegetation. Is there some chlorophyll in the vegetation or not? Are there some completely burnt areas or not? And you have some thermal infrared information that allows to detect hotspot. So really the temperature in the vegetation which is burning. Synthetic aperture radar images can be useful too, in addition to the optical images, because it shows very well the difference of the status of the ground from a geometrical and aspect. And so if an area has been completely burnt with only some trunks and bare soil, when before it was vegetation, this can be seen very, very easily through the synthetic aperture radar, so SAR radar images. With the Sentinel-2 satellites of the Copernicus European program, we have a systematic acquisition of the whole area every 5 days. And so very often, in fact, we have those beginning of fires that have been observed on those Sentinel-2 satellite images. And then so we can observe them very precisely because we can, in addition, task very high resolution satellite images like Pleiad imagery, for example, or in France, or like Planet imagery in US, in order to focus and to observe daily the evolution of the fires in the regions that have been concerned. So it is not real time because the satellite takes images only one time a day at a very precise time. But in the majority of cases, when you are in the latitudes, let's say medium latitudes, you can, using all the satellites available, you can have an observation daily of the progression of the major fires, which is already a very good, a very useful information.